Yo, guys, Urb'n Barz brings you the best UK reactions to rap, hip hop, and urban music from all around the world. And guys, we normally have some hip hop, urban, whatever music that goes banging in both our ears from this point in time. But tonight, guys, we are here with our man Jordan B Peterson. And guys, the title of this is called Can You Be a Marxist Christian? And I have to level with you guys. Got my mobile phone here. And the reason I've got my mobile phone here, guys, is I don't really know, or I can't really give you a definition of what a Marxist is, or Marxism, or whatever you want to call it, Marxism. So guys, it says here, Marxism is the political and economic theories of Karl Marx, who I've definitely heard of, and Friedrich Engels, who I've also heard of. And they later developed by their followers to form the basis of communism. So Marxism is a method of socio-economic analysis that uses a materialist interpretation of historical development, better known as historical materialism, to understand class relations and social conflict, as well as a dialectical perspective to view social transformation. So guys, once again, the question here is, can you be a Marxist Christian? All right, let's check out our man Jordan Peterson.
We'll start with some of the ideas of Marx. Well, Marx believed that people were basically socially constructed so that we were blank slates, and that whatever our nature was given to us essentially by our surroundings, but even more importantly by our social class, right? Because Marx was a theorist of social class and believed that the primary dispute, let's say, the primary motivator of human history, the primary driver of human history was something like the rich versus the poor, the bourgeoisie versus the proletariat, and that was a consequence of your social upbringing, and that your group identity was paramount. Okay, so there's nothing about that that's vaguely Christian. That's not how the Christian worldview works. It's not how the Judeo-Christian worldview works, because in that worldview, you're fundamentally an individual. Your nature is fundamentally attributable to you by God.
And that's really weird, because we just had a reaction where they were talking about group versus the individual. I've always been in favor of the individual as opposed to the group. I always tell you people that we are individuals first. So this is very interesting. It's very interesting to see where I've got this viewpoint from, this perspective from, because I don't even know that myself. So I'm learning something tonight, guys. So this is really, really interesting. So it's the group versus the individual.
Works. It's not how the Judeo-Christian worldview works, because in that worldview, you're fundamentally an individual. Your nature is fundamentally attributable to you by God. You're fundamentally responsible to God, and and history itself is something like the playing out of your relationship to the transcendent. So those things aren't the same. They're not commensurate. You can't believe both of them at the same time. Marxism is a materialistic philosophy. It's predicated on the idea that, essentially, an idea that Dostoevsky criticized in great depth was that if you just made people rich enough, let's say, if you deprived them of their privation, if you equalized their economic status, let's say, that the utopia would come to light upon earth. And, you know, I have a certain amount of sympathy for a viewpoint like that, because, you know, who likes starvation and misery? You know, there's nothing positive to be said about that. But I think Dostoevsky was right, too, in his criticism of Marxism, although he wasn't directly aiming this at Marx, in Notes from Underground, where he noted that, you know, if you gave people what they wanted in terms of, let's say, bread and circuses, if they had, as he said, nothing to do but eat cakes and busy themselves with the continuation of the species, which is kind of a nice phrase, that the first thing they would do is take a hammer and smash things just so that something improbable and strange would happen, just so that we could have our way. and it's kind of a recapitulation of the idea of original sin in Dostoevsky's subtle manner, is that we're the sorts of creatures that, what did he say? We're ungrateful. That's the thing that primarily distinguishes us from animals, is we're ungrateful and that we can curse. That was what he thought made us different than animals. And that even if we got what we wanted materially, that wouldn't satisfy us, because we're not the sorts of creatures that can be satisfied with material possessions, let's say, or material comfort, because it isn't even obvious that we're after comfort. I mean, what do you want? You want to just lay in a feather bed and eat peeled grapes all day? I mean, maybe for an hour or so, that might not be a bad idea, but
I think we're all, well, not all, but so many of us are driven. We always want more. So once you achieve whatever your aspiration is, then you're aspiring, your ambitions, you're always wanting more. Or if it's not more, something different. I don't think any of us can ever rest easy. We're always driven for something else, something more.
It's going to get dull pretty quick. You're going to go out looking for trouble. and it's certainly possible that the more material resources and the easier they were to get that you have at your disposal, the more creative ways you're going to find to cause yourself trouble when you go out and look for trouble. And that's a testament to the human spirit, and Dostoevsky knew this. Is like, well, whatever we're here for, it isn't the utopia of equal material distribution. We're not looking to be fed and asleep, And I don't know what it is that we're looking for. God only knows. Maybe what we're looking for is to continually keep looking, something like that. I mean, that's the sorts of creature.
What's that word? The thrill is in the chase. That's what a lot of people say. So once they have attained what they've been after a few moments, they no longer want what they've got. They want something else.
That we are. But the materialist philosophy is that, well, if you just provided for people economically, problem over. And no, wrong. I mean, most of you are, as given that you're going to be ill in one way or another, and that you're still subject to mortality and all of the terrible natural limitations that human beings are characterized by, you're about as well off as you're going to get. The economic data already show that once you have enough money so that bill collectors aren't chasing you, which basically puts you, say, at the kind of in the upper reaches of the working class, or maybe the lower end of the middle class, something like that, that additional money has absolutely no effect whatsoever on your self-reported well-being.
That is interesting. So once the bill collectors stop chasing you, you're not worried about the bill collectors chasing you, you don't really need additional money. That's really interesting.
It's something like a combination of positive emotion and absence of negative emotion. So you might like to think that, if you were rich, your life would be better. And maybe it would be somewhat better, but it wouldn't be as much better as you might hope. And that's because you'd still have most of the problems that people have. You still maybe wouldn't get along with your sister, and you'd still get divorced, and maybe you'd even be more likely to. And there'd still be illnesses that would beset you. You'd be able to deal with them perhaps with some degree of more urgency. And you'd still have the problem with what the hell your life is for, and what you're doing on the planet, and how to conduct yourself in the proper way. And so we don't want to be too naive about materialism, even though we don't want to be ungrateful for its advantages. Marx also believed, well, I said this already, that history was basically characterized by the war of socioeconomic groups. That's been transformed more recently into the war of identity groups, which is the same damn thing, and it's the same old wolf in new sheep's clothing, as far as I'm concerned. That the best way to conceptualize human beings is, well, I don't know, whatever your damn identity is. Maybe it's sex for you, and it's ethnicity.
I just keep saying this, people. So this identity politics that is going on right now, it just goes way above my head. I mean, I just always say that we are just a one race, we're one people. All these people saying, I'm this, I'm that, I'm the other. Really? Really? I mean, to them, it could be the be all and end all. So I'm not going to, slag people off 100%, but it's all sent down from on high in some ways. And I don't mean from, from supernatural, but it's all sent down to break us up and to categorize us and to put us into all these little boxes so that we can actually bump heads against everyone else. So boy, girl, man, woman, black, brown, white, pink, this, that, and the third, different religions, different sexual orientations, different gender identities, etc., etc. It's all there as distraction. It's all part of the distraction.
For you, and it's gender for you, and God only knows what it is for you, and and that's who you identify with, and all there is in the world, and this is the postmodernist view, is hierarchies of people in these identity groups struggling for dominion. And that's a quasi-Marxist viewpoint. It's just a variant of the bourgeoisie versus proletariat theory of history, which is a foolish theory as far as I'm concerned, and certainly not one that we need to take forward into the 21st century, although we seem, destined to insist that we do so. He believed that the revolutionary overthrow of the oppressor class was necessary and morally demanded, and that turns out to be a little bloodier than I would say the typical Christian, Judeo-Christian ethic might require, because it doesn't require you to take up arms against your evil overlords and, well, put them in gulags and kill them by the millions, for example. And that, to me, seems to be an important difference. There's no, in the Judeo-Christian tradition, there's no guilt, there's no group guilt, right? You're guilty, and you're guilty of different things, I presume, and that's your problem. But maybe you're also innocent. Who knows, But whatever, it's on you. It's not a consequence of your racial heritage or your ethnicity or your gender, any of those things. It's between you and God, let's say, or it's between you and the state even. But at least it's between you and the state or God. It's not like, well, your father was a factory owner, let's say your grandfather, and so it was perfectly reasonable during the Russian Revolution and the Red Terror to vacuum you up along with your whole family and do away with you because you'd been irredeemably tainted by your bourgeoisie past. So that's another place where Marxism and Judeo-Christianity they're not just different, like they're opposite. It's not just variant 1 and variant 2. These are like seriously different ideas.
Opposites.
And so there's another reason you can't be a Marxist and a Christian.
Well, that was really interesting, guys. So that was our man, Urb'n Peterson, and he was talking about, can you be a Marxist and a Christian? And the conclusion he's come to is that you can't. They are polar opposites in every which way you can look at. So yeah, guys, let me know in the comment section. Do you agree with Urb'n Peterson? Do you disagree with Urb'n Peterson? What is your viewpoint? Are you a Marxist? If you are a Marxist, let us know. Are you a Marxist and a Christian? Let us know. Are you a Christian but have no truck with Marxism? Let me know in the comment section, guys. I mean, I've heard of Marxism. I didn't know too much about it. I know Karl Marx and Engels, etc., whatever. But it was just interesting to hear someone who's got a very good take on this, to actually listen to them and to find out what those differences really are, and if there are any areas which maybe overlap or interrelate, then to actually cover that. But as far as I can understand, Urb'n Peterson was saying you can't be a Christian and a Marxist. Guys, that was interesting stuff. I mean, there's a whole heap of stuff like this out there, and it's really important for people to start to get to grips with understanding what's going on and what's out there. So all the psychology, all the bits and pieces that are out there, just get your own bits, have a listen to them, and then make your own decisions and make your own conclusions as to what is out there. It's just so that you can, when all this noise comes in through the front door, is so you can sift through it and you can be very discerning and actually really look at what is being presented to you, what is actually being presented to you guys, and sift through the detritus and actually look at what is being presented to you and make up your own minds. That's how I look at it, guys. I listen to a lot of these people all of the time. So I just hope you like that. And if so, I hope you wouldn't mind to subscribe to my channel here at Urb'n Barz. You're still going to get the music, guys. You can get lots of the music. But at this minute, I'm just really interested in just checking out a few more of these commentaries by people like Urb'n Peterson. And hope you liked it, and hope you can subscribe to my channel here at Urb'n Barz, and look after yourselves, look after each other. Guys, let's see each other again real soon.